Hey there, Thunder Wizards. It's my first day back on my Oz adventure. Here I am, um, just down the street from this place. And in 4 days, I will actually be right across from there. So this is my little interim place. I had to change my flight around and leave a couple days early. And so here I am. I'm going to spend 4 days here, and then I'm going to go up the street. And then I've got that house right there in front of that place called First Bay for a month. And then I've got some other places lined up in the area. And got in extremely early, 6 o'clock in the morning, Brisbane time, which would have been 12 p.m., I think, 12 or 1 California time. So California, the clock on this computer says 9:52, so it's 9:52 in California right now, but it's, I don't know, like 2 o'clock or something, 2 p.m. Anyway, so I am a little tired. It's been a big day, big couple of days, and I'm really glad I went business class because I could sleep. And you know, I got this really great vehicle because I rented it for so long. They upgraded me from like an economy car to this small brand new SUV. It's a brand new car. So, day before yesterday, I turned my car in and I had to pay $1,500 to get rid of it because I was on a lease. And then I show up here, and I'm expecting to have, a crappy crappy rental car, and they upgraded me significantly to this brand new, like it's never been driven before. It still has the new car smell, little SUV. And I was able to make it here with all my stuff and my surfboards on the top. And anyway, for me a lot of luggage, like 3 suitcases and a big surfboard bag full of stuff, and surfboards and wetsuits and everything. I went down there today, down here. I went to go get some food, and I wanted to just see the place, and looks just like this again. They're starting their winter, and it was 77 degrees today, and under the Australian sun, 77 degrees feels like 85. The sun here is so strong. I mean, I had sunscreen on, but you can still see I got some color on me. It's just the sun is so fierce here. So if this is what winter's going to be like, I'm going to be doing just fine. This summer in California was the coldest in 80 years. There wasn't one warm spell, not one. And normally we'll have, a normal year, we'll have, 3, 4, 5 warm spells for a couple of weeks where it'll get up to 85, maybe even 90 degrees. And then a cold thing will come in, but it was just cold up until I left. Up until the last 2 days, it was just cold and wet and cloudy and horrible. Haven't surfed in 2 months because of getting ready for this, and because the conditions have been so horrible. Windy and cold, which isn't, but, whenever it rains, the pollution, makes the water really unhealthy there. So, I mean, I haven't surfed most of the winter because it's been, anyway, I'm done. I'm gone from there. So I want to start a series called Reinventing Yourself, which is obviously what I'm doing here. I've made a couple of recordings and discarded them because I can't really say what I want to say, probably because I'm, tired from long flight and driving around and unpacking and all that garbage. But I want to start talking about that. So maybe I'll start chronicling reinventing myself. I walked away from everything that I knew. I'm still a citizen of the United States. I mean, I still have my bank accounts are still in the United States. But I don't have anything there. I don't have any people. I've got one, maybe two friends that I haven't seen maybe once or twice, over the past couple of years. No family, nothing. There's just nothing there. And on the plane, as it was taking off, really, really interesting thing happened. I mean, it was very coincidental. I don't want to call it synchronistic yet because I don't want to jinx it, but it was very coincidental. And as the plane was taxiing to take off the ground, I was going through in my mind, I was saying that I'm dying to my old self, and I'm dying to all of the things that, the mediocrity that I felt that I had to be, in order to please my family and my now ex-wife. The struggle, I struggled a lot, and not really. I never really felt at home there, ever. And all the garbage of my my childhood, and I was just all the stuff that I was still identifying with, all the stuff that was that I was dragging behind me, which of course is my identity. And that's one of the reasons I'm coming here. Whether I'm able to stay or not, it is my intention to make this my home. How I'm going to do that, I don't know, because it's not feasible legally, unless the one option that's that could happen if I wanted it. But it is my intention to make that happen, and I also want to reinvent myself and enter into the full potential of my true, authentic self. And I might get emotional here. I saw my teacher and my group of people that I've been working off and on with for 25 years now. And he had some things to say to me which were really, I'd been waiting to hear something like that for a long time. And he, with a lot of emotion in his voice, looked at me directly in the eye and said that, you really have come into your true, authentic self. And I'm really proud of you. And that coming from him, he's not the kind of person that, is going to just give compliments, especially to me. He seemingly does it to other people, but not to me. He holds back on that. And I understand why. But the end of that relationship in that way, I mean, we're still connected, and I could still call him and work with him if I wanted to, but to have that official sort of end to our relationship in that way, and for him to give me that stamp of approval, was pretty meaningful for me, pretty powerful too. So as the plane is taxiing off of the runway, and I'm saying to myself, I'm dying to this, this, and this, and I'm going to be reborn, and I was coming up with words, and I'm not going to get into the stuff that went through my head because it'll sound fantastical, but I really started to seek infinity, and I can't remember exactly what I said because I was looking at the ground. I was looking at the lights of LAX as it was leaving and going towards the ocean, and I said, and I hereby die to my old self, and I now merge my identity with the infinity. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I said that, the plane went into a fog bank. So it was like in the movies, you're looking at this and all of a sudden fade out. And then we were in a fog bank for a long time. So it had this really powerful effect of me going into, it felt like, what I would imagine when the soul leaves the body, when it lets go of who it thought it was. And so I'm here to do that. I want to redefine myself. You know, there's nobody left in my life that I knowingly have any old contracts with. No family members, no friends, no relationship, no nothing. And it really feels like up until this point in my life, I have been paying off old karmic contracts and debts, you know, and like my marriage to my now ex-wife, you know, I married somebody that I had to fit into her, I chose to fit into her mold for me, for her. I felt like I had to do it for her. My relationship with my fiance was amazing and liberating, and I was holding space for somebody who was walking to their death. And that, you know, that was a lot. It took a lot. I don't know that I'm still, one of the reasons I'm coming here is so I can really let that go and see what else is, you know, connected to that and letting go of it. Holding on to what she awoke within me, you know, because she awoke, you know, she showed me who I was, what my potential was. To hold on to that and to let go of, you know, it's okay. I don't have to hold space for somebody who's dying now. I don't need to do that anymore. And, you know, to see what I can do with my teaching, how I can expand it, how I can reach out and do more, and how I can communicate better to you guys. You know, I've always had this experience. This is Jupiter retrograde in the 8th house, in case you wanted to know. I have these like experiences of I feel like I know, and like I can see and feel concepts. Like you know, I say in the Naga conspiracies that I can feel connected to all the 9 worlds. This is why I tell people when they want to go, how do I go to the upper world? It's like, why do you need to go to the upper world? You're here now. You can connect to it here. You know, having some experience, man, and going to the upper world doesn't mean anything. To be able to tap into all of those realms in your conscious awareness while you're in this world, that is meaningful. That has depth and power. And I have felt that my whole life. And I have sort of allowed myself to just be seen on the topmost level. And I spent a lot of years just like not even acknowledging that this other, you know, shaman experience was happening, where I felt like I was in multiple worlds at one time, that I could see behind the curtains and feel. And, you know, being able to do things like read mythology from anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter if I have any understanding of that culture, that religion. And one of the things I can do is I can pick up mythology and read it, and I know exactly what it means. And I know exactly what the true depth, you know, at least some of the truth and depth of it is. And that's hard to do when you're a little kid. That's hard to do when you're a young adult. Some of you listening to me know what I'm talking about. It's very hard to live with that, because you want to connect and you want to feel a part of. And when you don't, you know, I remember once when I was in freshman in college, and it was an English lit course or something, and I wrote a poem. And I won't get into it. It wasn't like a rhyming poem. It was you know, the other kind of poem. And you know, it had to do with there was some, I don't know, it was some homeless drunk guy, and I was writing about what I saw and experienced, and this teacher's reading this, and she looks at me and she says, "It must be very difficult for you." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "You're way beyond the kids your age. I mean, you see things that they can't see. It must be very painful for you." And I hadn't thought about it, but you know, when she said that, I was like, "Wow, she's right. This is a part of me that, you know, kids my age just didn't get." And that's been my experience most of my life. And so instead of sort of lugging that behind me, which I've done for most of my life, I've just recently embraced it since I started the Thunder Wizard path. But I really want to do more than just embrace it. I want to really break this thing wide open. And I feel like this is a place that I might be able to do that without the constraints of, the old identity of who I was back in California and that whole, my first 55 years there. So anyway, I'm babbling. I'm tired and I'm hungry. I need to make some food. I think I'm done unpacking for the time being, so I am going to relax and probably fall asleep pretty early. And I'm going to start this series in reinventing yourself. And let's go deep into this. Letting go of who you think you are, letting go of your energetic contracts that are holding you back, letting go of having to fit other people's expectations of you. And the way we're going to do that is I'll just share with you what's going on as I float around in limbo, happily. Happens to be a pretty beautiful limbo with with birds that go and then they've got their crows. Their version of crows have these white bands across the feathers, and they go, ha, ha, ha. They're laughing at you everywhere you go. There, ha, ha, ha. And then there's the turkeys that run around. Yeah, it's a really interesting, magical place. For all of you Aussies who have grown up here your whole life, you don't know. Maybe you do. But I suspect that many of you do not know how interesting and unusual and exotic in a really wonderful way. There's no place in the world like Australia. I mean, there's no place that has plants like it, trees like it, animals, the birds. It's its own little universe, and it's these are the oldest. This is the oldest continent, the first continent that came out, that burst forth from the sea, was Australia, the oldest rocks on the planet, the oldest continuous cultures, plural, the oldest continuous cultures in the world are here. The native, the Aborigines, their culture is 50,000 years old. These people have been here a long time. You want to see what the first humans were like? They're here. They have the memories. They have the stories. Get a lot of emotions come up as I talk about it. So maybe I've got some destiny with them. I don't know. I'm not going to try and seek that out. You know how I feel about appropriating other cultures and things like that. But yep, I'm here, and so I'm gonna just stay in touch with you guys. Hopefully I'll be on this weekend and we can do some live Q&As and whatever, but first thing I got to do is eat and sleep. So before I start babbling any further, I'm going to see you guys later.